Hello, everyone. We've had to move channel weirdness, so I'm just going to take a moment right now. Oh,
I'm doing it.
Katie's doing it. She's in the chat of the one we thought we could use, but it wants us to download some kind of stream, like custom software thing. I thought I could just go live using the one I created. Apparently, I need to do something special with that one. So instead of creating something special, we have just gone to a parallel place in the channel and created this one. However, this isn't the one that all of you set up notifications for. So I'm really apologetic for that. Every time we do this live, it's like they've changed something or I'm just dumb. So I am sorry about that. I don't know why it went dark really like extremely there for a moment.
Probably because we're backlit by the beautiful backyard that y'all can't see.
But it was awesome. And then it went like dark. So we'll see. Yeah. Like that right there.
Look at all these people joining us already. Thank you.
I'm going to move this closer to see if we can forefront ourselves a little more.
Not cut off my head.
Well, we'll see. The closer it gets, the more it cuts off. So
you can tilt.
Yeah, that's true.
We have the very, very technical box, cardboard box that we are currently.
The box of streaming.
Yeah.
It's official. And so welcome everyone. I'm Sarah, also known as Imagine Landscapes.
And I'm Katie, also known as Roar114. And this is our once a month show and tell to supplement our audio podcast, which comes out usually every 2 weeks. And our next one will be coming out this coming Wednesday.
Exactly.
Sarah, tell me about the tea that you're drinking.
I am drinking plain old orange pekoe tea. It is the most mundane of teas.
Mundane of tea?
Mundane. What is
mundanity?
Is that a word? It doesn't sound right now. I'm just thinking tea puns. So
yeah.
How about you?
I'm drinking Mystery David's tea from your cupboard.
That's
it has some sort of chocolate in it. And because it's got oat milk in it and I'm used to cow milk, I can't quite tell whether I'm used to this flavor or not.
That's
but
right.
It's delicious.
It's still mystery tea, but it's still drinkable cake.
Thank you to everybody who's coming in saying where they're from. It's so good to see. We've got people from Ohio and Oregon and Minnesota and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, Mystery David's tea, you know. But yeah, so thank you. If you've got questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. And thanks for being here while we do a bit of a show and tell.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start?
How about finished objects? Do you have any?
No.
Okay.
When do I ever?
You do sometimes, and then sometimes you have 6.
So, it's true. It's true. No, I have none. I have none this time.
All right. So I have the most paltry finished object display I've ever had. Heckin' adorable, but nevertheless, yardage-wise, like what the heck? It is ridiculous. Technically, I guess it's 3 FOs, but it's 1 pattern. So I knit the No Fun Like Gnome Fun trio for the June Year of the Gnomes. And I'm knitting all my Year of the Gnomes in Miss Babs. They made a mix for me and they called it Sarah's Mix. You can go on the website and buy it. It is 2 grays and then an amazing red that I can remember. Wait, one of them's Shale and one of them is Moon Night. Moon. There's a moon in the word.
I don't think I've ever seen the ball band. So
and then the red is called Kobold and it is extraordinary.
It is beautiful.
And then it's that almost went in the tea. That was very tragic, almost.
It could have been tragic.
But, you know, what do they say? Like a near miss with tragedy is comedy?
Fair.
All right. And so then the beard color is a not quite white. It's ever so slightly pinkish, called White Peppercorn. And one of the cool things about that is that because it is technically dyed, it is less eager to pick up any dye that leaks from other colors. Because the fabric's kind of full.
Yeah.
So that's why we went with that rather than like an undyed color. So this is Noah, this is Naomi, and this is Niblet. And Niblet is the smallest gnome I've ever knit. I think he's even smaller than other versions of Niblet I've ever knit. So this is truly extraordinary. Definitely a last minute gnome for those of you who are like, I forgot to knit a gnome. If it is 10:30 at night, and you've got till midnight, like nibble is yours. This is a very simple, like 16 round I think, gnome, maybe a few more, and then you do a wee bit of duplicate stitch because any beard that I designed for Niblet looked like a beak if I knit it. There was no way to do this that didn't make him look like some kind of like Easter egg. So Niblet is really cute. And what's funny is I designed Niblet. I was almost ready to publish these two. I had been asked by people to, could we have small gnomes? And I was like, whoa, because they're already pretty small. And the first one I published, Never Not Gnoming, like Natalie is about like this big. They're already quite small. And if the smaller you get, the more fiddly it gets. So I was really worried about it. But I realized that if I simplified the gnome, I could do it. And if I simplified it, it would be easier to teach as a beginner gnome because it takes out a couple of the steps, like picking up stitches and things like that. So Noah here and Naomi, I was on Instagram Live. And when you're on the phone on Instagram Live, at the time I didn't have a holder. So I was like holding the phone and I was talking because, you know, you got to bring it up next to your face all like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I want this as an earring. And then I said it out loud and everyone was like, yes. And I was like, now I need to design an earring. So I like last minute, quick, went in and just panic designed a gnome and got testers willing to do it. And I think we had this like ready to go when I was scheduled to publish anyways, like a week later. So this was Niblet was an extremely last minute addition, but entirely so that I could have earrings. Also works as a keychain. Some people are doing that thing where you can crochet around like Christmas lights or fairy lights.
Oh yeah.
You can crochet around that and add things to it.
Sorry for the wobble. That's a cat.
That's a cat. And some people do that and then they attach this like to the fairy lights and then they have kind of like a gnome garland that's lit because it's right around the lights.
That's awesome. Sorry for fading out into my phone there. I just wanted to go put the link to this in the chat for the one that with the notifications. I saw that a few people were trying to find this, and sorry, the cat is still trying to be up high on the box. Yes. So now I do actually have a finished object with me, but it's one that I finished I don't even know how long ago.
Okay.
But since we've talked a couple of times about Serra, S-E-R-A or S-E-R-R-A, I can't remember which. I thought that I'd bring it since I recently dug it up out of my closet.
Oh, just before you go on, someone is making 2 Niblets every month to have 12 pairs of earrings. That's amazing.
Amazing.
To match every outfit.
I love it.
Niblet is honored.
Yeah.
To be coordinating with your life.
I'm so excited to see those pictures. That's awesome. This is soot.
Yes.
So, Serra, so I knit this all in linen, which is, it's an early knit of mine. And so I wasn't sure how to weave in the ends on this one because it's linen. Apparently I have a shoulder cat now.
Let's put her out of the porch.
And you suggested, I wanted to see your reaction to this.
Oh.
You suggested that, she's caught on her sock yarn is around her knee. So you suggested that I use thread to just kind of tie it shut. She is now running away. Oh, sorry. She's now running away to try to get the cats to chase her. So I'm going to try to fill some space until she gets back because I want to show you all. And I'll show you while I wait for her to come back. So I'm going to move the tea so I don't get my white linen sweater. So if you can see that, what I did is I actually took white like thread that you would put in a sewing machine and literally tied it in. So on the inside, it looks a little bit odd. I don't know what I would do if I were to do this again. So this is what I did.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And so I've got that kind of all over.
So my question is, what does it look like from the other side?
Nothing.
Right?
It looks like nothing from the other side. So that's quite lovely. Let's get that.
So it's like, it's behind my hand here.
Yeah. And you can't really see it.
You can't see it.
Now that I don't wear this as much as I thought I would because I did the bind off a little tighter than I meant to. However, it is lovely. It's got the type of collar that I'm in love with these days. You've heard me talk a lot about big foldy over collars. So this one is quite wide, nice drape to it. And it's got a set-in sleeve, which I'm also a big fan of.
So do you knit that flat and sew it in?
I think this is all one piece top down.
Okay, yeah, that works.
And so I actually wanted to knit this one for our current craft along. But then I decided, I looked on Knitpics. Sorry, I'm going to do this to try to make the color change. Yeah. Linen is an amazing summer yarn, Wendy. It looks like you're going to be wearing wool, right? But the wind just goes right through it. I have 3 t-shirts or tank tops that I have knit out of linen, and I don't do well in heat, and I wear them on like the hottest days, and it feels like I'm naked because the wind just goes right through it. But the type of linen that I knit my tops out of all kind of bloomed a little bit, so I don't even have to wear a camisole underneath. So they're pretty phenomenal. And then this one, yeah, I do quite like this one.
So what I would say, I was thinking of, obviously you could redo your bind off if you had the yarn still, but I'm assuming you don't. So here's my suggestion.
I need to dig it up. I might actually, but yeah, keep going.
Because this one will, the yarn you've already used will be this. Oh, we gotta change the color again.
Sorry, folks.
I'm gonna tilt it down a bit to see if that helps. And if you lean back, you can maybe be seen a little better. We'll see.
I'm like sitting like this.
So
we'll figure it out.
If you undo a row or 2, you would have enough yarn to make it bigger.
Yeah.
Right. So if you even just undo 1 row and then bind off again, this yarn has been worn. It's been exposed to the exact same light. It's been washed the exact same number of times.
Great idea.
So that would work as a way to get that looser neck, because it is very inelastic.
Yeah. I mean, linen is, but this bind off is in particular.
Yeah.
And Judy, you're right. This didn't actually help with the white balance. Linen does get softer and softer. There's this beautiful, beautiful pattern done by Aro Knits with this amazing twisted stitch detail, crossover fake cables. And I want to make it in a linen to have, I would have to wear a camisole underneath it because it's also got some eyelets.
Yeah.
And I want to make it in a linen so bad. But then when I think about doing all of that twisted stitch crossover in linen, which has 0 sproing, there's no give to linen.
There are some versions of linen that are chain yarns.
Chain plies. Yeah.
So more than chain plies, it's actually constructed as a chain. It's almost like its own I-cord.
Yes.
So I think Kestrel by Quince and Company and their other one, Sparrow maybe, is really good because it does have sproing in it because it's actually been pre-knit.
Lindy chain. Thank you, Judy. I was thinking Knitpicks has one too, I think. And you know what? I think I actually bought a lot of Lindy chain. It's probably somewhere, sorry, every time I turn to you, it seems to go darker. So I think I have some. Did it. I will look when I'm at home. But yeah, so this, I would wanted to do this for our current sweater top torso. Yeah, tip top Cal. And when I was on Knitpicks, for some reason, it didn't look like they had a lot of good worsted options, and this is done in worsted. Turns out I was looking at the Aran/heavy worsted section, and there was an entire other worsted section.
Yeah, that's another tab.
And so I found a bunch of yarn, and so somebody with Knitpicks' recent sale, I now have a sweater's worth of this of gray coming to me so that I can make this in long sleeve.
So I have recently been watching a really amazing podcaster called Aro, and Aro Knits and Purls is on YouTube, and she knit 31 sweaters last year, 29 the year before, like productivity, like it's just bonkers. But she did a whole thing recently on summer knits and what yarns she likes them in and what things she's done. So one thing she does for a couple of hers that are more see-through is she just wears like more like a bralette, like where it's
shelf bra.
Yeah. So it comes a little lower. It's like maybe longer than a sports bra, but there's still like she's not completely clothed or swathed in a camisole, and it looks really cute. And she was talking about which yarns she likes and which sweaters. So if you are interested in sweater knits, she did a whole like half-hour, 45-minute thing on all the ones she's knit so far and what she likes about them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
People are asking about my sweater. This is the Radvent cardigan. So it's got really lovely construction. It's just a little cropped cardi. This is the one last time we did a live. I was just debating whether or not I would do buttons on it, and so I did sew buttons on. I'm not going to get close enough to show you, but they are just lovely iridescents. I don't do it up when I sit down because, but yeah, I wear this one actually quite a bit. And if we want to, it's the Radvent cardigan by Amba O'Brien. And the yarn is the Broken Rainbow color collection by Alison Barnes, Canadian dyer. And the gray actually came in a kit with it. So, really good selection there. This is the second one of these I knit. And if we move on to works in progress, my Tip Top Cal entry.
Before we do that, dramatic pause. Do we want to switch to the other couch?
So we stop having so much backlit issues?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
If you get motion sick,
Gonna close your eyes.
Close your eyes. We're gonna
right now.
Yep.
Close your eyes. You should be safe now.
Staring at an empty couch.
Hi, and welcome to the other side of my porch.
I'm coming.
I'm Serra, also known as Imagine Landscapes. This is my sister Katie, also known as Roro 114.
Hello. This porch is beautiful, Judy. You're right. When Sarah texted me this morning to give a few options as to where we could record, she suggested this, and I was like, yes, let's just go sit. Because somebody earlier was commenting on hearing the birds, and there's a water fountain over there, and they have put so much care into the yard out there that it's just really lovely.
Did you see our tunnel?
Not yet.
So we made a tunnel out of like wedding arches. They're full circles. And then we put 3 of them in the ground, and then we covered them with really stiff chicken wire and like clipped that on. And we're training Virginia creeper to grow up and around it. So we have like a leafy tunnel.
I'm excited to see it. Judy, I see you you're 31. Remember, I'm speaking Celsius.
No, 31 sweaters.
Oh, sorry, Kate. Good. I thought that was in relation to the sweaters that I was wearing. Anyway, good.
No, 31 sweaters.
31 sweaters. That is bonkers. I'm assuming they're also a smaller person.
They are a smaller person, but they really like oversized sweaters. So they tend to knit the medium or large sizes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't have that much. I don't have that much knitting in my hands.
I have that much knitting in my heart.
Oh, absolutely. You for sweaters for sure. I'm so excited. I don't know if she's going to talk about this, but she just got back from Zombie Knitpocalypse, and she bought 3 sweaters worth of yarn. If you listen to our audio podcast and you've listened from the beginning, you know how much Sarah always wants to knit sweaters for herself and how much I'm always telling her to do more of that.
We're going to try to make it work. So
you can do it, Shelley.
Absolutely.
You can do it. It is just one stitch after the other.
It's just more knitting. It's not harder.
Well, and depending on what you're knitting, if you knit a blanket, there might even be less stitches than in a sweater than in a blanket. Yeah. So you can do it.
So having done our dramatic pause as Katie transitioned to works in progress.
Yeah. So
speaking of your Radvent cardigan, Katie.
For our Tip Top Cal, I'm knitting a third. All in black. Because at first, I'm going to put it down now, because at first when I changed jobs 2 months ago and I've gone into a new field in a new type of workplace, and I really wasn't sure if I'd be able to wear this to work, because this is perfect. I can put it on over top of something that's short sleeved. I'm close enough that I often walk home from work, so I want the short sleeve for summer. I just need the warmth because air conditioning. And so I wasn't sure, but then you know what? One day I just did, and I got a number of compliments on it. So I can wear this one to work. However, I am very much not going to regret making this one out of black. I know it's really hard to, it just looks like a black arm.
But it shows the transit, like how it's made though, right?
So,
because you start over there.
Yeah, so this is actually the right sleeve.
Let's do this.
So you start at the cuff and you knit to the back, and then you start at the other cuff and knit to the back, and then you take all of this and seam it up. Now,
so this is half a sweater.
So this is half of a sweater. You can see here, there's a bit of a gap. So that's this part here, where it becomes the front, and then the back, the bit that goes towards the back.
So that's what this elevation is.
Yeah, yeah,
is the bind off so that the neckline is different.
Yeah, and so it's a really cunningly crafted thing, where you just knit a tube, you do a series of regular increases, and then you cast on, and and make it go from being round to being knit flat. It's very cunningly done. Now, the pattern calls you to break your yarn to do this, and I didn't. And I thought that I didn't in the past, and I went back and I read my notes, and I said that I didn't do it for the first sleeve and that I should have done it for the second sleeve, because this is what happens. You get nice big holes in there.
If you break the yarn, you have ends to deal with it.
Yeah. So, you know, I've done it before, I'll do it again. I'll fix that all up. But yeah, so, and I've ordered from Etsy just some really plain black dome buttons. So they look kind of like they're a little bit
like half circle, like that dome.
Yeah. So they look kind of like 1950s. Like if they were white, they would maybe look a little bit like a pearl button. But they're flat on the bottom. So I ordered 2 different sizes depending on which one's going to fit slightly better. Yeah, I can totally camouflage that. And actually, I did it before, Judy. I just
add extra yarn.
Well, it's a bit of a process because the type of cast on that you do to take it from being round to being flat. But I just go through and I pick all of it up. And then I can't remember what I did last time. I think I just used extra yarn of the same color to just kind of weave it in.
Yeah, just weave in and close the gap.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm done half of it. And so where I'm at with the other half, is I'm barely past the cuff.
Yeah, so when you pulled out half a sweater, I was really surprised because you showed me the cuff in the car the other day.
Yeah.
So I was startled.
I did text you that I finished the first one, but it was while you were on your trip, so I don't think you remembered. Now, one of the things that I do love about this sweater is how long the sleeves are. I am 5'11", with broad shoulders and big boobs, and the number of times that I buy, like how hard it is for me to buy a sweater that actually ends even here is really hard. So a lot of my sweaters for my whole life, they've always kind of ended about here, which I hate. I don't like bracelet length. It feels to me like it's not the right size.
So it feels like something's missing.
Yeah.
You pay attention to
and
that.
So I push up all of my sleeves habitually, but not these. These are one of the very few sweaters where I'm not constantly shoving my sleeves up. And so I think that's partly why I keep making them. I mean, they go so well. Like I'm wearing a dress today. It goes super well with dresses. It goes super well with anything.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's basically a bolero.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially when I wear it, and I wear it mostly open.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is pretty bolero.
So it really matches fit and flare like that. It has that 50s kind of aesthetic, but also it doesn't have to. Like it goes with that.
Yeah.
For the more formal, dressy kind of things, but it also just looks good. So I love that.
Well, and having this black one will be formal. Like I'll be able to wear it to pretty much anything I want. And also I'm using Knitpicks gloss. And it's got 30% silk. And I know you can't feel through the internet, and I'm sorry you can't, but it is kitteny. The pattern is the Radvent cardigan by Amba O'Brien with a B-R-I-E-N or E-I. There's an E. It's also, we'll put the link to my blog in the chat afterwards. We'll put the URL.
Description box after this we're done, and it kind of like processes, I can add some notes. Yeah, so we'll put the link to my blog, and that's where I'm keeping track of all of my projects. And in my projects, I'm linking to the original patterns, and as much as possible, I'm linking to off-Rav options. So around, Katie, we've had a request for the back.
Oh,
it just looks like a sweater.
It does.
Keep going.
Yep.
Keep going. There we are. Good job. So she knit to here, and then knit to here, and then just went like that. So the one that Amba O'Brien did use I think you're good.
Okay.
Did an Advent yarn set that was an extremely gradual fade. So hers just kind of goes from one color into a neutral and fades into the other one. So if you want to do planning, you do kind of need to think about it from the outside in, because whatever's touching at the end of each piece will match or meet up and be side to side. So if you want it to match, you have to end on the same thing or do something like that. But it just looks like a sweater. It just, the lines go up and down.
Yeah.
If you knit something that has lines. I've seen a lot of, we've talked about this a lot. I've thought about knitting it. I think I will probably knit it eventually. But I've seen a lot of versions of it because we've spent so much time looking at it. And there's people have done some scrappy projects and some other stuff. There are some butt ugly versions of this sweater on the internet. I'm just going to be totally honest. They are, to me, ugly is always
subjective, entirely subjective.
Yeah, so I do not like all the versions of Radvent, and you definitely need to like think, if you have opinions about the way you want things to look at other sweaters and see if you think it looks good on this one. Like there's enough projects out there that you can kind of test knit just by looking at other people's versions.
Yeah, I know lots of people who like it looks really color blocking. Like it can do that.
Yeah, the reason yours fades is because the dyer put into the purple into the pink section, green into the purple section, green into the blues. Like
this was dyed to fade.
Like it's matched. The colors transition from skein to skein. It's very purposeful. So
and I did math on this one too, because I had six skeins, and so I split them each in half, and I did some math, because you can, once you've opened up the pattern, you can figure out roughly how many rows it's going to be to get you from here to here. And I wanted it to go from this color to the middle, and then to this color pattern to repeat again. My math is a little bit off, but my numbers are in my blog post for it.
Was the yarn dyed for the sweater?
No, but it just works really well for it. Yeah. I do have little bits of leftovers, just because, but yeah, so, and it's really like, it's really simple. I just put stitch markers at each increase. So it's totally TV knitting. Yeah, this is fingering weight.
And it's knit at a looser gauge so that it's drapey and quite relaxed.
Yeah, but it feels, I think what makes me not want to shove it up is it feels fitted here.
Yes.
Right? So the lace, the droopy is in the bat wing.
Yeah.
Not so much in the arm itself. And I am using US 6 or 4mm needles.
And Katie is a tighter knitter.
Yes.
I would not be using a 4mm.
You are a loose knitter though. When I first started, I was quite loose. Now I'm more on par with the gauge and the recommended needle. Yeah. But anyway,
so I want to continue talking about sweaters for a moment.
Yeah.
Because
I love this one.
Yeah, this is a store-bought sweater, and I'm sorry, I don't have anything that's very summer appropriate, which I tend to fix. But that's a long-term project, and I'm refusing to wear all my winter sweaters because I wear them for like 9 months of the year because I'm cold all the time. Mm-hmm. So this is just a brioche commercial sweater that someday I will replace. My goal is to replace pretty much all my commercial sweaters with sweaters I've knit, but it's, planning.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep talking about this. One thing, I wanted to say someone else was talking about maybe wanting to knit sweaters. In our Tip Top Cal thread on Ravelry, people are brainstorming simple sweaters that are easy to do as your first one. In particular, we're all working on helping someone pick a top-down sweater that doesn't have a stranglehold neckline, but isn't complicated. And because the reason that a top-down raglan is a great first sweater is because you can try it on right before you separate off for the sleeves and stuff, and you can see if it's fitting you. And then you can try it on and you can see, is it long enough yet? You can try it on. Oh yeah, I need more arm or whatever. Yeah. And that brings us to what Katie wanted to show you.
Yeah, I brought this along. So recently, Anna from Long Way Homestead had a farm day and invited a bunch of vendors. And so I bought this there, and it is the Knitting Barber is what it's called. I'm excited to see that a couple people are maybe thinking about making a Radvent cardigan. Please tag me, Roar114, on Instagram if you do make them. I'd love to see that. So this looks like maybe
like shoestring licorice.
I was gonna say shoestring licorice. It is just a plastic cord. It's really thin, but it's also very long. I know I'm wearing black, so you can't really see, but this is quite long. And whoo, it is pungent. This is the first time I took it out. What you do with it, is if you want to try something on, you just shove it really firmly so it doesn't come off on your needle tip. Like I'm tugging on that and it's not coming off. Yeah. And then you just put your needles backwards through your project and then you can try it on.
So
And then
do you take it off and slide it on, or you just use that as like emergency? You don't have to slide it off, but you just let it slide as it needs to.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, you can do it that way, or you can intentionally kind of slide it out so that you can.
But it
that.
could go on both needle ends and actually go around you. So like rather than having to like slide all the stitches onto spare yarn, or what I do is I thread extra like circulars.
Yarn. Oh yeah.
And then, but I usually find I need a total of 3 circulars to try a thing on, because not technically in terms of how it fits here, it's this part.
Yeah.
Where you lose it. So this is a much more secure, don't lose stitches kind of option. And it's the Knitting Barber.
Yeah, it looks like a few people already have them and love them.
There are also a couple of just flexible in a way a lot of other cords aren't. So it's not gonna like, sometimes when you try sweaters on, it's stiff and it holds it in a way that you're like, is this the way the sweater's fitting, or is it the needle I'm wearing while I'm doing this?
And so it comes with a couple other lengths as well, plus this really long one. As always, we are not sponsored by anybody to talk about these things. We're just telling you about the things that we love. So yeah. Oh, good. Some other people have some other options that they're putting in the chat. So thank you for that.
Yeah, there's try-on tubing.
Somebody else had something, pony bead string.
Oh,
string.
Yeah. That plasticky.
Yeah, that you iron. Yep. Maybe I'm thinking something else. Anyway.
Yeah.
So where did the lid go? Thank you. I'm excited to try it out because like as you say, I mean, I've got tons of Knitpicks circular stuff, but they're so stiff that I never really know if it's actually how it's going to fit, but this will give a closer one.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's one 60-inch and one 230-inch in this. So if you can, and you're interested in this kind of thing.
Yeah. Pretty much every vendor, not every vendor, every places I've been to recently have been talking about it or having it. So it's definitely something that's kind of catching on. All right. So
Barb, I was thinking about my comment about ironing was, those beads, the perler beads, I think they were called.
And you'd make it's almost like pixel art, and then you'd iron them to make them stick together.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. So
not cords at all.
No. What are you working on?
I am also working on a sweater because we have a sweater along.
Yeah.
Speaking of someone knitting something for the 3rd time, I am knitting the Cozy Classic Raglan for the 3rd time.
Yay!
And it will not show up on film accurately. This is not bad, but it is way more orange than it is in real life. Cameras really don't want to read this. So the Cozy Classic Raglan is mostly like this, but because this is my 3rd one, I have decided to go rogue and add cables to the front. I was looking through all my cable books, and eventually I just picked a really simple cable so that I could read my knitting and not be tied to a pattern.
Yeah.
Because I want this sweater now and not, 3 months from now. So it is a very simple cable, 8 stitches wide per cable, and then I'm crossing every 10th. Well, it's every 20th row, but because I'm staggering them, it's every 10 rows I'm doing something. So the middle cable is purled in between, or not purled, is crossed, let's say on row 10, and the outside cables are crossed on row 20, so that it's staggered. But I could be wrong. It could be both of them every 10, but I don't think so. So I wanted it to be a flatter cable, and I didn't get it right. So the less often you cross a cable, the flatter it gets between, and the closer you cable, the more it pops and is like super twisty. I wanted it to be flatter, and when it blocks out, it will block flatter, but it's not what I wanted. But I also wasn't swatching the cable, and I wasn't gonna frog back because I had to figure out where to put it vis-a-vis the short row shaping to raise the back neck.
Yeah.
And I was really uninterested in redoing it.
Yeah.
I will be honest. I am using 2 skeins of yarn, or 2 different yarns held together, which is the way the pattern was originally written. My first one I knit in DK because it's a DK weight gauge, and I'm allergic to mohair and soy alpaca, which is what most fluffy yarns are knit on. The second one I knit because I found a fluffy yarn that I could wear. And then the third one I'm knitting because I loved the first 2, and I had more color. So what I have is, so the fingering weight is called Beetroot, and it is a single ply yarn from Lichen and Lace, and it is a stunning, dark, deep
Yeah.
burgundy. Like it's a deep, I don't know which wine that is. Is that Burgundy? Is that Merlot? I don't know my wines. But
Oh, I thought you were talking about Burgundy, the color, and I was like, no.
Like you know, like it's a dark.
It's a very beetroot red. Yeah. It is gorgeous. It has that,
but no pinky bits to it at all.
Yeah, it's like a really deep beet that's got almost fleck. You know how sometimes you get a really deep one, they've got flecks of black in them almost? This is what this yarn looks like. And I know some of it's coming through. Like it looks...
It's better on screen than once we add this.
Yeah.
Which is the fluffy yarn. So this fluffy yarn is Lana Grossa Cashmere Garzato. I know it is backwards, but at least you can kind of see it. Or at least it's backwards to us. It is less fluffy than a mohair. So a mohair would have longer bits kind of coming off of it. It would be a little wider, a little loftier, and a little, well, there'd be like a longer mohairs.
A bigger halo.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I have never ever had a piece of this get stuck in my lip gloss. I get 0 floats of this. It goes nowhere. It stays on this. And it's letting me participate in the fingering plus fluffy trend, which is everywhere all the time right now. And I'm excited about that. So I wanted to do, there are about 12 colors of this. And none of them are particularly like, they're all sort of solid, right? And it is a cashmere cotton mohair. The cotton doesn't really pick up the dye. And so it is a little white in the core. No, so marine, like wool. Cashmere cotton mohair, I think is.
You said mohair again.
Merino.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's wool. It's wool, cotton, and cashmere.
Yeah, it is mostly cashmere, and then second content is cotton, and then just a bit of merino. It is so soft. I don't think I've held one of these before.
Yeah, it's not as puffy as a mohair would be, but it's letting me participate. And because it's a commercial yarn, the cost is really good.
It's really lovely.
Like it's really good. I ordered a very variegated yarn from Akara Yarns.
Yeah, for your last one.
And I was like, I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna knit with variegated. And I was like, I can't do it. But once I held it together with the strand of black, it just, even though it does speckle all over, and I was alternating yarns so that I wouldn't get pooling or flashing, but it just looks homogeneous. No, unified.
Yeah.
In a way that I adored. So if you have a variegated yarn that you want to love but can't quite, think about holding it double. If you don't have enough for a sweater, hold it with something and make a hat or something like that. You'll be happy, or cowl. Mm-hmm. You'll be happy with it. So that's the sweater I'm knitting. The Cozy Classic Raglan I love in part because it fits like a sweatshirt. I use this, there's 2 waist shaping options, and I use the second one, and all you do is decrease. It's not it sits high hip, so you don't need to like worry about your hips, but it just tapers a little bit so that when it hits your hips, it balloons just a wee bit in a way that it's so much like a sweatshirt, but it's classy. Like it's a posh sweatshirt, and
beautiful.
I just love the way it fits. It's kind of casual, but kind of dressy. And I've been noticing, like I've got some darker ones, and I was really reaching, especially by the end of winter, I wanted something like really bold and warm and fabulous. And so this was really going to fit the bill on that. So I have gotten, so when I started the knitting retreat, I was like here.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot done.
And then it's all I knit while I was at the retreat. So I am now ready to start the ribbing. I need to put some brain into that because I have to remember what needles, I've got it written down, but I also put short row shaping in the back ribbing of all my sweaters nowadays. Because when you sit down, you get that lift, that little, it lifts up, and your pants bow a little bit. And so there's this little bit right at the top of your pants where you get cold all the time. Also, we're curved there, most women, in a way that kind of takes up some space. So I've been adding 3 short rows. So it adds 6 rows total because you go there and back in the back ribbing. So I just find the halfway point of like, I leave my stitch markers in from my waist decreases. And then I just sort of, the first one's farther out, the second one's like maybe 6 stitches in, and the third one's maybe 6 more stitches in or something like that. I got it written down. So it's just 6 rows of just a little bit extra. You can see it when you look at the sweaters. and then they're flat, but it just doesn't, it's not visible. It's not like a split hem. It's not like a high-low look at all.
Yeah.
It just looks like a sweater that really fits. And I love this technique. I'm doing it all the time, all the places so far.
It's awesome.
I'm not going to knit this. I'm putting it
Because
down.
you need brain for that.
Because I also need different needles and a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that is one of my 2 works in progress that I can talk about.
I'm knitting socks. These socks have been on the go for months now because now that I have a job where I'm in the office and I don't have even the days when I do get to knit from home, my meetings aren't ones that I can knit through. So this is the second sock and I am very close to the toe. Thanks also partly to, we watched Everything Everywhere All at Once last night as a family. It's a long movie.
We got a lot of sock. We each got a lot of
We each
sock.
got a lot of sock knit. So I am actually quite close on this one. I actually need to stop soon and count rows. So if we compare heels.
Oh, you are
very close. So that's also why I'm not knitting very much because this is my easiest autopilot right now. So this is the one that's done. Obviously, I have not woven in the ends.
I love how this yarn speckles. It is so
beautiful.
Non-pooling.
Yeah.
Even here.
Yeah. Yeah, even at the top of the foot.
Where you do the gusset.
Yeah.
So I mean, it changes ever so slightly, but not so good. So good.
This is Fireweed Fiber Company, part of her year-long Star Trek inspired sock club. So I have 6 months of it. I have 2 months of it on the go and have not completed either of them. And I haven't even touched the other one since the last time we did one of these. So I didn't bring it. I also we don't live in the same city. So I have to pack what I bring. So yeah, so this one I'm going to probably, when I get back to mom and dad's, I'm probably going to sit down and count how many rows I've got.
Speaking of second socks that speckle but aren't terrible about it.
We have such strong opinions about flashing and pooling.
For us. I just can't handle it. It just makes me sad and mad.
Yeah.
All right. So I wasn't sure if this yarn would pool and flash. And I find that if I have contrasting bits, it bothers me less because there's something else to grab my attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the cuff extra long and added 2 sort of sporty things, partly because ankle boots are super cute. And if you have socks that stick out, they look better striped.
It's true.
So I did an extra long cuff and I did
That's a beautiful blue.
Beautiful blue. And I'm on the second one. Like Katie, I should probably stop and check soon. But it is German or Austrian. It's RockSheep is the company. I didn't buy the yarn. I was given it. So I'm a little less rock solid on the yarn.
Rock solid.
Oh, yeah. It's a great logo. It has a kind of a punk sheep with the hair is all rainbow and then it's a black and white drawing. And then it's kind of got a little bit of a snarly upper lip. But it's still super cute. I have so much yarn left, Katie.
So are these for you?
Yes. I have so much yarn. Look at how much yarn this is. This is like a whole sock left. I don't know if I want to, yeah.
Just like to show everybody the different sizes in our feet.
You can
Her toe was done before I start my toe.
Yeah.
Yeah, my leg is also longer. I have a size 12 foot.
I am an 8.5.
Yeah.
But you can see this second one did do a thing at the color change.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's not the worst.
Nope.
But it's definitely a thing here. Didn't do it on the, it did it. That's the first. Yeah, it did it a bit on both. So I'm going to be okay. No one needs to worry about me.
Also, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I just want to show you that inside a lot of my knitting bags now, I have one of these coilless stitch markers pinned to it with some stitch markers on it.
Emergency stitch markers.
Emergency stitch markers, so that they're just built into a lot of my knitting bags. And I felt quite cunning when I figured that one out. I mean, I know people figure that out all the time.
But when you figure it out, rather than hear it as a tip, it's like, I was smart.
Yeah.
So speaking of I was smart, I often will be knitting socks as my travel knitting, and I'll just assume, oh yeah, I'm on the first sock. It's no problem if we drive to the city and back in the day, because that's like 5 hours of drive time plus time in the city.
Yeah.
It's no problem. But if I finish a sock, it's very difficult to start the next sock unless you have a needle. You can take your needle and just cut, break the yarn and just run it through the stitches.
Yeah.
like without a needle.
I do that. Yeah,
just
just to
pull
hold
through
it
with your
hold your live
with your
stitches.
spare needle. Yeah. So I actually have in my change section of my wallet, I have a yarn needle.
Yep.
So I can always Kitchener.
Oh, see, I don't Kitchener when I'm out and about. But I do also have a really big tapestry needle. Yeah, I'm so glad, Angela. Jump rings are amazing as stitch markers. That's what those were.
Actually, that's what most people use to make their stitch markers. They're the basic thing, and then they just put bling on them. So.
Yeah. They're cheap. They're great. Do you have another thing? 2 things to talk about. I have 1 thing left.
All right. So one of them involves you.
Well then,
let's spring this on you. This is at my house for some reason, and you made it. And do you want it back? And what is it?
This is the Diffraction shawl. How's that? I knit this years ago, folks. Very impressed that I still remembered it. I knit this on, sorry, I found a pull. I got distracted. I knit this partially on a vacation when we had a family reunion, and I was gifted the green yarn, and then the gradient is from Hilary's Magical Yarnorium in the 37.
They both feel like 37
colorway. I think the one has some cashmere and the other one doesn't, but they're both soft enough and at a loose enough gauge that it kind of works out. But I was running out of yarn for the edge, and I remember you suggested that I try to find just some matching gray yarn, and this was supposed to be an I-cord edge, and you just recommended that I just knit stockinette to make it curl up to make a fake I-cord edge. And I went to a yarn store in Montreal, and I walked in with my project, and I was like, help me match this. And it worked out really, really well. And so now it's just done.
There's a 2 purl or 2 reverse stockinette rounds on this to help stop the curl. So it curls only as long as you want it.
Yeah.
So this one is, you cast on 1,000,000 stitches using Judy's Magic Cast On, right? Or
something like that in the middle.
Yeah. So this whole shawl starts
in the middle, and then you knit out. Yeah. And
so that's why
I'm actually really impressed.
2 rounds. Like this is knit in the round.
You can see, now that I'm pointing it out to you, where the row changes. Right where this row of holes is.
Yeah.
But it looks like I used some sort of jogless stripe method. We're both staring at it. It looks like I also maybe, I don't know. Anyway, this one is old enough that the details are in my now not really used Ravelry account. But yeah, I can't remember why I loaned it to you. Maybe I decided I didn't want it anymore, but I do really love it. If you don't want it, I'll have it back.
Yeah, take it back.
Cool.
There you are.
I think I knit this when we were in the Harry Potter knit and crochet house cup.
I think so, because it's very Slytherin.
It's called my Slytherin Diffraction shawl in Ravelry. Yeah. I need to go in and change that name. Anyway, yeah, it's so soft. Beautiful, beautiful drift. No, drape. That one. I need more caffeine, obviously. Should I talk about my thing?
Yes.
I have been working on the Farpoint shawl designed by
Julissa?
Nope.
Janessa?
Nope. Jessica?
Nope.
It's in my blog. It starts with a J. Smith. It's
definitely starts with a J though.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So it is a asymmetrical shawl inspired by Star Trek, clearly by the Red and the 4 Pips. This is inspired by The Next Generation. Also, Farpoint has to do with Jean-Luc Picard. Here is this part, which is the weird part. It's got this bump.
It changes.
It just blips.
Gauge.
It changes quite a bit. So I actually reknit this section once already, and I went way looser. This is a twisted stitch rib. And then there is an eyelet row here. And then it's hard to show up, but there is a star stitch in this spot here. And then we've got the little captain's pips to go with the red. And then there's quite a larger star stitch section here. And then a mosaic knit section, which is just constellation-y type things.
It's funny, to me it looks like Klingon Birds of Prey, or like I get a ship vibe.
And this one is I basically now knit until this end meets the center And I did a lot of knitting on this on one weekend, and there was something about the way I was knitting that really played with my neck injuries, and so I had to put it aside. But yeah, it's beautiful. I have some friends who've been making it in different colors and changing the number of pips depending on, so like I know a scientist who's doing it in the science colors from the Star Trek that she really loves, and somebody else who's doing it in a different color from the Star Trek to align with what they do and who they feel that they would be. Vanessa Smith,
Thank you,
so
Anne. Wrong. Boy, were we
Thank you.
sure it was a J.
Yep. J's and V's look somewhat similar.
Does she have a company name that starts with J?
I don't remember. Thank you so much, Anne.
And since you're Googling that, do I have a basis for my insanity, or am I just
I think
truly
you're just making it up. So yeah, this is beautiful. Apparently I inspired a little bit of a knit along with a group of friends, which is really awesome. And it's a really well-written pattern. If you haven't discovered Vanessa Smith's stuff, please go check her out. Yes. Beautiful. She does these beautiful jewel colors.
Yes. She has a cabled sweater with a scoop neck that I have almost bought yarn for and cast on. I don't know how many times.
Ditto.
Yeah, it's like 10 years old and I keep wanting to get it.
Oh, and this is yarn that you bought for me. It is Feisty Fiber, and the silver has just a smidge of stellina in it, which I thought was also quite appropriate for this. Anne says, no, you made up the J.
The J is random.
The J is silent?
Yeah, the J is silent. Anne, I'm sorry. All right, we don't usually show acquisitions or that sort of thing, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Zombie Knitpocalypse, which is my first ever knitting retreat.
Yay!
Center of the continent, so I could drive. Big fan of that. And you get goodie bags as part of this. And for a long time,
I haven't seen this yet.
For a long time, one of the women, Amy, her mother did the bags for this, but apparently sewing 200 of the same thing year after year, like she would change it each year, but it would be 200 of that year's model. Eventually got like not fun.
What?
So they've changed, and this year they went with Purl Magic, who does amazing sewing with
that zipper.
Check out this. Okay, so
because the theme this year was
State Fair. You're a star. It was blue. There was lots of fair stuff, but this is amazing. So it's silver stars on a blue vinyl bag, which is waterproof and grime proof. So like if you are going to, like if you're
actually knitting at a state farm where maybe there's going to be some straw and manure,
the beach. Yeah. Or if you are in the winter somewhere where it's wet and you go to a cafe, you know how like when you put your bag down, it's super, super gross because it's slushy or wet or whatever. I remember we were in Vancouver in the winter, and part of what they handed you when they accepted you is if you had a purse or a bag, they gave you a plastic tub and you would like put it on the floor beside you so that your purse and whatever wouldn't get gross.
Oh gosh.
Because it was just slush everywhere. And it mixes with the salt and the, like, you know, they
really nasty.
And they sand it so it's all brown and gross.
Yeah.
So this is like really great for waterproof stuff.
You need to show the zipper.
And the zipper is amazing because it is kind of an iridescent-y rainbow, which is just...
That is so stunning.
So good. So good.
I love that a lot.
Yeah. So this is a really great, unusual project bag that I don't have a lot. That like I have some vinyl ones, but they were for gnome things, so they're about this big compared, right? Yeah. So this is definitely like a shawl, no problem.
There's a Toblerone in there, y'all.
Yes, I do. I did get some birthday presents because I was there at my birthday.
She was. Her first knitting retreat started like a day or two after her birthday. How amazing is that?
And then there were 3 dyers who were vending at the market that happens on the last day who were asked to make the like colorways for the thing. And they all were kind of, I don't know, I think they were inspired by this. And it reminds me a lot of nebulas. The colors they chose were all blues with purples and pinks. And
Nice.
one of them had lots of black in it. That's the one I wanted, but I only found one person who had that one because it's totally random how you get them. Only one person I found had it, and I wasn't gonna like ask to trade.
Yeah.
But this is the one I got, and
It's a lovely,
it's kind of a periwinkle
yeah.
or cornflower blue.
Yeah.
And then it's got a little bit of purple that kind of speckles to pink. So it's from and then it kind of goes red here. And it's an at Haynes house yarn. And what I enjoy is every at Haynes house yarn has like a tiny 1-sentence sort of story about the colorway. So this one's called Ba 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 Head.
I
And
think you missed a ba.
ba 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 head. Okay. So the older Haynes love a song with the lyrics, "Up above my head, I hear music in the air." I'm not cool enough to get that reference. When the younger Haynes were children, they would sing ba 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 head. So
That's fun.
this is my knit along or my retreat yarn. And it's just neat to get like a little coordinated package. Some of the other dyers had little mini skeins in there, and there were stitch markers and some other stuff. And it's just like you're welcome there. You get your badge, and then you go and you find your table and you open up your goodie bag and compare with your friends. Like, ooh, which one did you get? And do you want to trade and all of that? So I would recommend anybody who wants to go to a knitting retreat, the Zombie Knitpocalypse one is a great one to go to. It's in a hotel, and so you can always like duck out and go to your room if you're overwhelmed or if you forget something, or and it's very, very focused on the knitting and the people. There are almost no classes. Any of the classes that are taught by attendees. So like if you want, there was a class on walking and knitting.
Nice.
There was a class on natural dyeing that was probably the most formal. Someone was like, let's practice Kitchener stitch. That was a session. So it's really not about like bringing in big names and being like, you have to go to class and you have to do this.
It's much more casual.
Yeah, there was like a formal event each day, which was optional to attend. And there was a speaker that they flew in. It was Zandy Peters, who designed the foxpaw pattern, did an absolutely brilliant thing on how he designs his design process. And he comes from an art family and then became a commercial designer with New Balance shoes, and then brought that philosophy to designing. And so talking about how sketching can help you as knitters, obviously the table full of designers I was with, we were like, oh my goodness. But also talked about things like, if you want to see if you like the way a piece will work on you, buy polar fleece, because it actually mimics hand knit fabrics. And you can get it in different thicknesses, so you can mimic different yarn weights. And so you can then, like, let's say you want to design a scarf. Well, how wide should your scarf be so that you don't end up like that Lenny Kravitz picture? Was an actual...
I do kind of want a scarf like that.
That is a lot of scarf, and you will never, ever be able to turn your neck, right? So, and then you can use that to see how big you want it, or talk about tape as sketching. So let's say you have a sweater you really like, but you're thinking about adding a V-neck. You could modify it. So you could actually just take masking tape and tape on a V-neck and wear it and go like, hey, is this too wide? No, I want it narrower. Is this too deep? And you can use masking tape as a way to do it. What comment did I miss? That's so funny.
Judy heard bipolar fleece instead of bipolar fleece.
Sometimes the fleece is really hot and sometimes it's just a little warm.
I'm almost out of tea. Are we out of things?
We have done it. High five.
Yes. Thank you to everybody who's here. I think this is our highest number of folks and our most active chat. Yes. It has made this really wonderful. Thank you all for being here and hanging out with us for an hour on a Sunday afternoon. I think it's Saturday. Yep. It's a long weekend, I was going to say. It's a long weekend in Canada. I think it's probably a long weekend
because they get the Monday. It would be the 4th.
We got the Friday for the 1st.
We are first, just so you know. Just bringing that up.
Tea.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Show notes incoming.